I want to say
Acknowledge
that Glenrick is always so helpful. Whenever
And
I have an
happy.
issue, with my computer, I'm like, Glenrick, are you there? Yeah, sure, step in. All right. And he fixes it again. So that's really nice.
Yeah, and you're getting a shout out from your colleagues, as I can see in my WhatsApp. So shout out to both of you. But before we go into their education trajectory, Amber good like about the singing. But Amber, you have such a beautiful voice. Anybody in the evening or early in the morning, if you're hearing this la 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 la, that's our Amber. We're just where's your passion?
Actually good.
Yeah, I used to swim. A long time, past that. Amber, back to you. Where do you get a passion of music and singing? Because sports teach a discipline, singing, music as well. Tell us a bit about yourself before we go to your educational trajectory. You're not getting away.
If you're asking my friends from high school who is Amber, they would never say someone who sings. Or also my friends from university, they would never say Amber is someone who sings. I was always the one who was offbeat when dancing and who was not singing correctly. But I don't know what happened. Just the 1st of January 2021, I just stepped out of. I was in Curacao then with my parents because I'm from Curacao and I go there on holiday often, and I just spent all morning singing in the canoe, and I enjoyed that, and I continued, and I just got this inspiration. It's bubbling inside of me, and I'm taking classes now at Casti Cultura.
Awesome.
But I'm too shy to sing right now. So,
So we work on that.
Yeah, I think at the opening of the academic year, Amber, FYI. Anybody listening? FYI.
If you're looking for an upcoming singer, Amber from Faithful is definitely
so
one
maybe
of
we
that.
need a guitarist or a pianist to, accompany her.
that would be great.
But you know what I think is also nice is that you and this is in this case it's singing, but just that sometimes we have something bubble up and we're like, let me just follow and see where this would lead to. And you have no idea. You started just because it felt good.
Yeah.
You wanted to learn something. And this is an example of lifelong learning.
Correct.
Doesn't mean because, at a certain age you cannot stop. You cannot start something, new. So very nice, and I hope someone listening and is inspired as well to.
Using your passion.
Yeah.
Using your passion becoming your work, and then it brings us to Glenrick. Tell us a bit of your educational trajectory, because people see you, they're like,
Glenrick IT
share.
Universidad Aruba.
Yeah, I'm currently the IT manager at the University of Aruba, but I
That's
didn't
currently.
study that. So let's start at the beginning, kindergarten,
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
elementary school, all of that in Dakota, by the way. Dakota Turdia. But
Sorry,
then
Dakota too hard,
to Mavo, Montplaisir, and then to Colegio Urbano. The next step was Holland, like the most of us, to the Netherlands. At the Hague University, I studied human technology. So actually I have a bachelor in engineering, and that was most in domotica, huisautomatisering. But then I thought of, coming back to Aruba, there's not much I can do in that sector.
Could you explain it a bit? Because I'm wondering everybody listening in or who's viewing us right now.
Yeah,
explain just a bit what it actually entails.
Yeah, my thesis was more about domotica and home care. So it was in
Domotica?
huisautomatisering in Dutch. That's like, let me just give you a very simple explanation. Of almost every movie you see the clappers, right? Lights go on, go off. Or now you have Alexa with voice.
I was just going to say,
Alexa.
Turn on, turn off. So
That's
that
what
was,
it is.
Yeah, but that was in 2006, 2007.
Wow. We all think it's just from here, but it's the making, the coming.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So it was, in the beginning when everybody was, but now it's just built in Alexa
Right,
or Google
one
Assistant.
button and then we get the clap.
Yeah, but still big hospitals, hotels are still built on that framework.
On that framework.
Not Google Assistant, but more in the electricity, in the wiring, in the cabling.
Okay, but before you continue, did you already know what you wanted to study and where did that come from?
Yeah, the idea was to study technology, the behavior, human and technology. That was my idea always. And
Where did that urge come from?
I think from small. I
But
think
it was
because
just-
I am a people person, let me put it that way, and I love technology, so why not
Combine.
But you're from my
technology and
era
combine it.
when we were still, plugging in, calling, and I mean that's my idea of technology at our age. So somewhere for
I
it
guess
to be
they're younger than me, but that's okay.
just a bit.
but at home I was already with router, doing
Okay.
stuff, just experimenting at home. So that was before I went to the Netherlands. But that combination came from that aspect, I think. So that's why in human technology was the right bachelor. I think that was the right decision for me back then.
Nice.
And I use it still, right? I am a team manager, but I still use some of those
Awesome.
components. I learn how to put some technology maybe in place. Before putting it, let me put it that way, I check, if it's something the human will use or not.
Yeah, and how
Simple as it.
comfortable.
And how comfortable it is,
Yeah.
user-friendly, those kind of questions. It's not just putting in there and just see what happens now.
Okay,
Let's do
so
a
then
little
you were in
research
the
before.
Netherlands, yeah.
So
And
yeah,
then-
so after my bachelor, I was in a dilemma coming back or stay,
Yeah.
doing my master or something like that. But that I thought, no, I just want to stay for a little while, do maybe a couple of years of experience, and then I got a good I can call it a chance. But at Didacticum, they teach you, they train you 2 months, like deep intensive training in IT, and they just outsource you to one of their clients. And I was in, I think, 30 or 40 of those candidates. I was one of the 5 they chose.
Oh, wow.
So I went into that project, and after that, those 2 months, I started working at SNS Real, a bankverzekeraar, for 6 years.
Oh, wow.
And in that 6 years is where I
Explored.
explored everything what's IT.
And
Helping
become who you
9,000
are.
and
Did-
becoming,
Yeah, but did you have the opportunity or you created that opportunity?
I think I created it because I moved a lot.
How was that experience? Because sometimes people say, "Yeah, me not having opportunity. I don't get an opportunity." You created it. Could you tell us a little bit about that mindset and what you did? Because I think it's important as you move forward as a youngster that creating opportunities is the new 2022.
I don't know if I can call myself a lucky guy, but in school, my work at the University of Aruba, it was only my first or second attempt trying, and I did it. I get it. So it wasn't for me like I needed
It's meant to be.
Yeah, and that was what happened also with Didacticum. I just sent one letter, and they called me like after 3 weeks. It was
But that's the application. But what about you making Glendrick? You did different courses. You looked up for different courses. And you always made sure you were on top
And
of
still
the
are.
game.
I always make sure that I was one step ahead.
And what is that? Explain that to the youngsters.
For Didacticum, for example, before I knew what I was applying for, so I just went online and started looking information on their website and what they were looking for specifically. So I just printed out. I remember their list with all their courses they gave. So I'm like, okay, let's start online and just start self-learning.
that's the thing.
So when I got in the first application, in the first meeting with them, they were like, oh, you already know about this topic, so we don't need to talk
Too far.
not too far. It's okay, it's clear, because I already did my homework. Let's put it that way.
And you see, this is for me an example of, and which we've had in many conversations, where
Yes.
you have to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
Correct.
Because that's what will give you the competitive advantage. Many people say, no, me not asielo, maybe money makes plays a role, but you need to invest, because that is where, as you said, you already had several things already in place. So it makes it easier to say, well, we will make the rest of the investment in you. And I think it's a gevoelige onderwerp to say, because sometimes we just expect things will be given to us, but this is an example of where you work for, to work to get where you are.
And create the opportunity.
Yeah.
Having said that, Amber, what about
Yes.
yourself in your
Yeah.
trajectory?
I love how the creating opportunities, how that came up, and I want to step into that as well. I think I created the opportunity, like I invested in myself, and then this opportunity for doing a PhD at the University of Aruba within system, it passed by and it fit perfectly because I invested that time in myself, in learning. And my first job, how I got my first real job, I was
What's a real job and a
versus a
fake
fake
job,
job,
you
yeah.
know? Does it pay less? Okay, just asking.
My first job was at a cheese factory in Wageningen, and it was supposed to be a very technical job. I was supposed to find a way for them to save more money by making the process more efficient in a technical way. But I just went into that factory. So, and I talked to the people, to the employees, and I found out what was driving them. And I gave them compliments when they did something that enhanced the process. And really, the power of compliments, it's
powerful.
amazing.
You know,
Just attention, giving attention, sincere attention, it's mind-blowing.
and it was a topic at the workshop I was last night in how to encourage our kids and others around us. But I think we were talking about it yesterday as well at the beginning in a breakfast meeting where, you know, encouragement, feeling value. But before you start your real work, did you really give us an insight on how you got to that real work in the cheese factory? You didn't, did you, Amber? So you said...
Let's take a step back. Let's
take a
go
step
to your
back.
educational trajectory.
Born and raised in Curacao, I remember.
Not raised,
Not raised.
till 5 years.
But that's
So
kind of raised. And then after, explain to us how you got to that fake job before the real one.
yes.
And then when we go back to Glenrock, we know how we come back to Aruba and how we got to the university. But Amber, let's hear about you.
All right. So I grew up in the Netherlands most of my life. I knew I wanted to study something with food, economics, physics, chemistry, maths. I liked all of those things, and I was good at it. So that's what I also would like to give to the children or the students, the
So
younger
anyone
ones
listening in,
who are listening. What are you good at? Because it will be way easier, most probably, to excel in that than it will be. If you hate history, don't go study history. Focus on the maths if you're good on that, or the other way around.
Yeah.
So actually, this is important. I remember now my study choice. My parents were not forcing, but they were encouraging me to go to different universities, to try out, to see things. I went to Wageningen University a few times, but the first time, I think my parents dragged me along and I was not interested. And the second time, I wanted to go out of my own interest. And then I could really see and listen, what is this study about? And I was super enthusiastic.
So you're actually saying sometimes, you know, so parents don't feel too bad. Your parents drag you because they see something maybe you did not see in yourself at that moment.
Maybe
and they dragged you and they're like,
Maybe
you know, let us expose Miss Amber to different things because she doesn't know what she wants as yet. And maybe that was your intention. And at that moment you're thinking as a youngster, do I really have to do this? You know, so, you know, thanks for sharing that.
Thanks, parents.
Well, I hope they're listening in. So continue then. So you went to Wageningen.
Food technology it was, and I really enjoyed it. But, you know, as a food technologist, what do you become? You maybe gonna work for a factory that creates crisps, and then I'm gonna be a scientist that's gonna make sure the crisps are crispy, they have a good sound when you bite on it. For me, it doesn't really, but the crack sound, you can measure it. It's really important. The crack sound is really important. Unconsciously, that is also determining how we experience the taste of the crisp.
You know,
this is education at another level.
Yeah, you know, my niece, Raisa, I think, you know, Raisa Ruij, she did her PhD. She's now in Australia. Hi to you. And she was actually looking at also the tongue and the different enzymes and how it tastes. So we had this conversation. I was like, really? People do research on that?
So much more. If you walk in the supermarket, there is so much research behind everything, so much trial and error, so much entrepreneurship.
And that's why I think, you know, studying at a university or just studying in general, wherever you take it, it's not just studying like, you know, in the traditional way. You can be so creative in your studies could be so creative because, as you said, we walk in, we see there's a pattern, there's a behavior, as Glendrick said, you know, the human behavior and technology.
Yes, in everything.
We play such an important role in everything that surrounds us. Yeah. So even the noise of the crisp now, I will think and listen to my wrappers differently.
But before we go that, so the transition from you coming from Wageningen to Aruba, then Glendrick, you coming back home. Let me just hear that a bit before we go into this very topic I'm so excited about.
So my very first job after my fake job at this factory. It was only 1 month.
That's a blow. What is a blow, man? That's
No, but you got paid, so I don't know what fake about
it
it.
was
But
supposed to be
anyhow.
1 month. So I wanted to do something with food and sustainability. There were a lot of things at that time, but I had an education to make crisps crispier and to make ice cream creamier, etc., etc., etc. So I went out, I made business cards even, and I just went to every event on sustainability or plant-based products that I could. And eventually I ran into the right person who, due to my background, saw the potential in me to calculate the carbon footprint of the food products of the company. And that was my first job. And I did that for 1 year, and then the research was performed.
Okay, now you're throwing with words. We're going to get to that.
All right.
Carbon footprint, what we're talking about. But Glenrick, Netherlands, back to it, and then Aruba, and then, I'm so happy you're at a university.
After 6 years working and due to family issues, I decided to come back. And like I said, I cannot say I'm a lucky guy, but after my first application letter to the University of Aruba, I was accepted again. So it wasn't like trying 2 times or 3 times. So I did I remember it was a team, it was like a Zoom call. I don't remember which tool they used back then. But
I think it was Skype, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was Skype. Yeah, the University of Aruba Skype account that everybody uses. So that was...
it seems so long ago.
But still. So after that meeting, it went pretty well. So they already told me after that meeting that, hey, this looks very good. So you will hear from us with a draft, from a contract and everything. So I think within a week or 2, I had contract and everything. So then it was for me to, my employee there, the 3 maanden opzegtermijn. So 3 months I needed to wait. But good, to just arrange all my stuff, my container, in Boodle, so everybody could be shipped out. So, and then
he and his dog, by the way. Sorry,
and
when
my
he
dog,
says everybody.
Yeah, and my dog.
Sorry. Shout out to your partner, but the dog had to be seated first.
Yeah. No, that's a different story. But they wouldn't fly it because it's a British bulldog and they are on a no-fly list. So it was like a war with them to fly him. So I needed to sign like a contract if something happens. It was my responsibility. So it was like a big issue to have him on the flight also.
Now.
But he's here now.
Yeah,
But
so
it was
cute.
a big issue for
It was
that.
a big issue.
Yeah.
And I want to say, because we're seeing Glenrick, and Glenrick is all vibe. He and Amber actually have a lot in common. Because both
that
at the
vibe,
university
that
you
UA
are very
vibe,
zen.
Yeah.
But I remember in a conversation you said, and I'm just throwing it out there because I'm sure people who know you from back then would have said, Glenrick, but you used to have... But I think locks, yeah? You used to have locks and long hair. And
I can't imagine
yes,
that.
he had. I remember he shared that with me, and I thought, looking at him, I would be like, oh, I didn't expect you to be where you were. But
everybody
that's
has
a
his
judgment,
faces, so
Of course,
one of
there
my
you
faces
go.
were dreadlocks,
Yeah, but it's not wrong with the
No, no, no.
dreadlocks. It's just that we don't think that,
We don't associate that with the IT, but I think it's part of who you are as
as a person in your development.
And development,
Yeah, get to know who you are. But now, for those of you who just tuned in, our viewers or listeners, this is Straight Up Conversation about education, sponsored
by the University of Aruba.
Creating a platform, listening to island stories simply to empower you and to also to make sure that we as a university are closer to you, the community, and discussing topics that are both interested not only local level but also on the global level. So that brings us to our topic, Deborah.
Talking about what is the footprint of food and technology, because there is I don't say a link, but that we leave traces all over, and traces are left all over in us, and our impact, we as the individual play a very important role. Amber, you recently in February, it's recent, it seems so far away.
I know.
We're one of the presenters at our climate change, where you presented this topic, and I know I was so... flabbergasted. I thought, I really have to pay attention to what my impact in terms of food.
Then.
So can you tell us a bit, because it's also then immediate, it's also your PhD research, and you're already through the words,
So explain then, carbon footprint, what are we talking about? Because we have all kind of listeners and we want to make sure that everybody's well educated.
Perfect. Thank you for that question. I love talking about my research. Where to start?
We don't have the whole time, but you have some time.
Everything has a carbon footprint. The mic, the headphone I have on my head, the T-shirt I'm wearing, the makeup I'm wearing, the computer that our listeners are looking at, or the car that listeners are driving. Everything comes from somewhere. There is a story behind everything, just as food. Take, for example, a banana. It comes from, well, maybe it was grown on Aruba, but it can also come from Colombia, for example. It was grown there. Fertilizers were used. The fertilizers came from somewhere. The banana was harvested, put in a box, transported through the hills of Colombia, ending at the harbor, put on a pallet. The boat is going to Aruba. Then the bananas end up in our homes, and we eat them and we enjoy them.
But
so all those steps have a carbon footprint.
Correct.
A trace, yeah.
Right. I was like, okay, let's get there. Right. It's traceable. And when you do marketing, that's the same. You learn all the steps, and then the thing is, but they're saying from how can we lessen our carbon footprint. So what do they mean by that? And are you talking about the route? Are you talking about what we do with it? What is it exactly?
Okay. Very simple. If we want to decrease the carbon footprint of our food intake, it is essential that we eat more plants and less animals.
Yeah, I remember from your presentation, you said beef was left like 26%.
That's why we go with the chicken. Okay. Anyhow.
Yeah, so I have a picture here. I don't know if you can see it. It's a picture of different products.
Could you bring it a little bit closer to the camera in front of you? Here, over here, Amber.
Yes.
Yeah. There you go, Amber. Yeah.
All right. So what you see here is the greenhouse gases of different food products. These are average numbers because, for example, this is just beef. But if we have beef from Brazil or beef from the Netherlands or the United States, it will have a different environmental impact. 60 kilogram is an average. Okay. Why does beef have a carbon footprint? Maybe land had to be deforested for the cows to graze on or to just be cows. The cows need to eat. When they eat, they are creating methane gases, and that's also a form of a greenhouse gas. And then there's also some packaging, processing, transport, retail. But in general, to come back to the main point, because I don't want to confuse the listeners, most important thing we can do right now to reduce the carbon footprint of food. First of all, why do we want to do that? Because globally, food contributes for about 25 to 30%